Sit back and relax while you listen to Train Kickers Podcast. I'm Dave, and along with my co-hosts Dan and Steve, we take you all around the world of miniature wargaming. On tonight's episode, we are sans Steve, so apparently I'm the only one who's constant around here. Well, actually, I do all the recording and editing, so that makes sense.
I hope you're constant.
Well, I'll show you how to use the software. It's actually very, very easy. And then you can edit out your own.
BattleTech episode. I know Gavin listens. We got to do the BattleTech episode.
Yeah, but now I actually have some BattleTech stuff, so I'll be there.
Oh yeah, you do. And
I don't have to.
You have a starter, right? No,
yes.
You'll be part of it.
Yeah, I have a starter, and four of them are painted. The other three will probably be done tonight.
I only saw the one, or did you just mimic?
No. Every one of them is different. I'll post it up in a little bit. Yeah, I don't.
Ah, that's awesome.
If I get more models, I'll start repeating certain things or theme it. But for right now, I have 7 or 8 models. I want 8 different paint schemes.
But like Merc companies do that shit all the time, which is funny.
Oh yeah, and I don't know anything about the lore really, so it doesn't matter to me. I'm painting them however I feel.
Honestly,
I'm not trying to fit a look.
It's Game of Thrones in space. Is what it boils down to.
Oh, and that's fine. Just it doesn't bother me the fact that like they don't fit any particular thing's look. They're just whatever I feel like doing at the time. It literally lets me.
And for people who are listening, I should point out, it's not like 40K where Black Templars and he painted Black Templars. BattleTech, sure, there's like house colors and shit, but like honestly, it's literally whatever floats your boat.
No, there's not necessarily rules for the things of what matters. But that's not what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about that reasonably soon, probably. But tonight, we are going to start some Conquest discussions. As of just a few days ago, earlier this month, they updated the overall game rules. And as of about 2 days ago, they updated some of the army rules. So the idea is tonight, we're going to go through City-States, Old Dominion, Dweghom. And then next week... I don't know exactly what day it'll be because I may not be around Monday, but the idea is next week we're going to go through the other 4 armies. We thought it might be a little bit much to try to do all at once, and to also just be honest, we want to be able to review the other armies better because we don't know them quite as well. And the last thing we'd want to do is start discussing differences and not be well informed in that. So we will be going through the other ones as well. And now, on to the show. All right, so... for anyone watching on YouTube, I'm going to scroll through this as we go along. Anyone listening otherwise, unless you're driving in the car, obviously you can open it up and look through it. The way we're going to
do it. Whoa!
I said it unless you're driving. I said if you're not.
No, I didn't get the unless part.
No.
Like, wait, hold on.
Yeah, no. Unless you're driving, please don't do this while you're driving, or at least I didn't tell you to do so. The way we're going to do this, we're going to briefly mention the army, essentially the idea behind it, or the way we see them. And then we're going to talk about the changes, how they're different, good, bad, otherwise. What's nice, at least they did, is it's all highlighted in red.
Yes, thank God. Oh my God, I love when companies do this. Oh my God.
And since if you've updated all your stuff, you might not have what the old things are. I've purposely not updated my app so that way we can discuss how those changes occurred. Because they told you what's different, but they don't exactly tell you if it went up, down, or anything else like that. But we're going to do the 2 factions that Dan plays and the 1 faction currently I play. I do have Nords as well, but Nords will be next week's discussion. But we'll start... we're going to actually do this reasonably backwards, but we're going to start with the city-states. So do you want to start by just talking a little bit about city-states?
Yeah, city-states are the newest faction. They are essentially Greeks, robotic Greeks. Well, I shouldn't say robotic Greeks because they're human, but they are essentially Greeks that have androids is the nicest way to put that, automata.
Automata's probably more accurate.
Yeah, but all the races have automata, so it doesn't really make them different. But they're Greeks. That's their big defining feature. So you're going to see this army have a lot of Greek flavors in them, a lot of Greek ideas. And even in their rules, they have phalanxes, they have shield walls, so on and so forth. The way they play is very tactical. So like in this game, I know we've talked about this game before, but just a refresh, it's alternate activation, but with cards. So you set your cards in a certain initiative order, and that's how you play, right? But with these guys, you can actually set cards aside, and essentially that is your new order. You could pull from there. And if you do that, it initiates certain abilities. So it's again, very tactical, very cool army to play. But they're again, Greek is essentially their flavor.
Yeah. Fluff-wise, I'll be doing more fluff when I do a different series that I'm working on now. But fluff-wise, these are humans that saw what was happening where the the Old Dominion was, and said, you know what, their god worship's getting a little bit crazy. We're going to come over here. We're going to kind of separate. We'll still do a little bit with that. And I'll go into more details then, but we'll still do a little bit of that. And then essentially when humanity fell, this is one of the factions of humans that were therefore far enough away and kind of isolated from Capitus, so they were able to survive and to some extent thrive. All right.
If I'm not mistaken, also, because I'm not sure about the Greek lore too much, but if I'm not mistaken, did they not also take their god and literally use it as a battery?
Yes. So
Yeah.
I don't remember the character name because I don't have all this in front of me, but essentially what occurred was they looked at it and said, this Haslia thing, good idea, bad execution. They put too much power in one spot, and that's what they didn't like about this. So they thought to maybe, at least I understand it, more of take their god and kind of more separate it into pieces. Like you can have part of it in some of these spots and more experimentation on it, but not let it concentrate the power, and not, especially because Haslia gets power from worship, because you believe in him, primordial power, him, quote unquote, he gets stronger. They avoid that. So they more of use it rather than treat it as, an omnipotent being.
I do like the little side note before we get sidetracked. I do like how very much the lore in Conquest is the gods are not very well. They are all powerful, cough cough, all dominion, but very much the gods. Sometimes you don't even want to be a god because sometimes they will hunt you and they will kill you.
Yes,
or they will use you.
Yeah. Well, remember the gods here are the primordial powers. They are what created the universe. There's literally primordial powers of order and disorder and all those sorts of things. So it's much more cosmic in scale. Even Haslia, it's not truly a god, and all the other pieces that came out of it, the fallen divinity, all those sorts of things, it broke itself off into other bits to be able to get praised more. So, but that'll be, we'll go through more of that in a series that I'm working on currently.
Hilarious.
All right, so city-states. Like I said, for anyone following along YouTube, we're going to kind of scroll through this, and whenever you see red, that's how you know something's changed, and we'll be mentioning bits about the army otherwise anyway. The first few pages are always just about the overall bit. It gives you what the army special rule is, and like Dan said, essentially, the army there's two big army rules. One of them is that in your activation, instead of activating a unit once per turn, you can set them aside. And then later, at any point, you may pull from that stack. Importantly, you may pull from it once you pull another card as well. The other big thing is auxiliary stands. So usually you have to be, you are an infantry unit, you are infantry stands, particular stands. In this army, they're able to throw certain types of units, mostly types of minotaurs, into some of their other units. Go ahead.
No, I said yep.
Oh, got it. So when we look at some of the differences, overall, where did you see the most differences for this faction?
Honestly,
is it concentrated in any way?
I feel like in a lot of the heroes. So a lot of the Autarch, and I'm going to say these wrong names, so bear with me, please. The Dweghom names are a little bit easier to say, except the Rock. But the Polemarch, the Aristarch, and the I think it's the Eidolon. Let me scroll down real quick.
Eidolon, a machinist, changed.
Oh yeah, look at this. Yeah, the Eidolon, the Mechanist. All really changed, which is very interesting. But the Aristarch changed in such a way that what's the Aristarch? No, it's the Polemarch.
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 It might be Polemarch, but to me, it's Polemarch. Makes most sense.
Yeah, I'm adding extra syllables. But yeah, no, that's essentially where most of the change seemed to solidify there.
All right, so we'll start with the supremacy abilities because they've had some changes here.
That's kind of where it begins.
Yeah. Now, like I said, the big thing is they don't tell you here how it was before. So we do want to discuss the actual change that has occurred.
And I believe you didn't update, so
yes, I did not update, and I did that purposely for this. So for the Eidolon and the Mechanist, the base ability is the same. So it's Carriers of God Flesh. When they're on the battlefield, and that stayed the same. When you draw a command star card from their strategic deck, that's a separate side deck.
You put aside, yep.
They get hardened +1. They're slower. It's always considered to be active. That is an additional line because they didn't have that before. That's a pretty constant change, though. Those ones saying that it's always active. That's kind of in many
Okay.
spots where it wasn't before. The big difference, one is that. The other difference is the second part talks about the clockwork hoplites. And it says that, hey, they're normally light. They change to medium, regardless of whether... Yeah. But I don't know. Did they just change the order of the wording from that? Change the class to medium? Yes. They added the words, regardless of whether the character stand is currently on the battlefield or having been destroyed.
Okay, so it's a permanent buff. It's not buff or debuff, but it's a permanent thing.
Yes.
Whether you're not okay.
And my apologies. They did say the supremacy ability is always active. They just changed where they put it. So it's always been active, but they added the part that this works even if your character is gone. This particular portion. So
Okay.
to me, this isn't a change. This is more of a clarification. Before they said at the end the ability is always active, and the question might have become which part is the ability. Here they've clarified essentially you get the whole thing at all
Exactly.
times.
Okay.
So not
That's a good
too much of a
clarification.
difference there, which is good. At least not as I
But
see it.
sometimes clarifications are necessary.
All right. How about for the pole mark? Do you see? Oh, his.
Yes,
is
I'll
rather
read it.
different.
You tell me when it changes.
Yeah.
While this character stands on the battlefield, the regiment this character stand in, including any auxiliary stands, the character stands itself adds +1 to the clash characteristics to a maximum of 4. In addition, the regiment this character stand is currently attached to gains the tenacious special rule, and the supremacy ability is always considered to be active.
So the
changes
bonus,
there?
yeah. So the bonus they gave here is that tenacious special rule is friendly regiments within 6 inches. That's
Oh,
what
so
it used to be.
Ooh,
So
okay,
they
nerfed this one.
removed this as a bubble. Now this only works on their unit.
Good. Tenacious is way too damn good. So
Yes.
for those who don't know what Tenacious is, because I
Mm-hmm.
used to use Tenacious is you basically ignore the first failed defense roll that you make, but it's basically per phase. I know it's not called phase, but I'm just gonna bear with me here. But it's basically per phase. So for example, if you get charged by knights, right, and they do impact hits. So let's say you fail 3, technically you only fail 2. But now let's say they swing on you, it triggers again. Essentially, Tenacious triggers again, so you get double basically the usage out of it.
I mean, a 6-inch bubble is for the way I see city states being worked and the way they work in my mind is giant.
Yes,
Because you tend to be running large units. Is at least that this list that we've seen have a lot of success so far are really big units,
now
which
mind
means
you, they
I
were
can put 2 of them
missing
together.
exactly. I was gonna say, mind you, we're missing pretty much all of their units.
Yes, although
But
I will say when they get more stuff, I still think large blocks. That the way they've been running with hoplites or phalangites, I think that's always going to be a valid tactic unless they change
Really?
things greatly.
I actually would disagree on that one a little bit, only because I feel like once you start getting giants and stuff, especially when you start getting like what are they called? The the horses, essentially. The light horses, I think that is when essentially you'll start seeing some really good stuff. But anyway, that's just, me.
You mean like
I don't
the
think
the
I'm
war
crazy.
chariots
Yeah, they're
or
war chariots. They
companion
also
cavalry?
they have companion cavalry as well.
Yes.
Either or, I think we'll start seeing, I don't know. We'll see. But that being said, this is a beneficial change. I think 6 inches I'm gonna be honest, 6 inches might have been too much.
Yes.
In my opinion.
Yeah. Now it's just that unit. I agree. It was a little much there.
For those who don't know, I'm very good with balance usually, which is weird because I tend to play armies that are not balanced. But no, I'm pretty damn good. That 6 inches would be a little too much,
Yeah.
especially in Conquest. Even though it's a 6x4 board, the way the bases are, because they're so massive, what are they called? Not the stands. The stands are so massive, and the regiments are so massive. Yeah, it wouldn't have worked.
Well, and because when you're in a rank and flank game, you usually if this character is your leader, remember to get supremacy, this is your warlord, this is your leading character. They're probably not going to be off on their own doing something. They're probably somewhat central wherever you might be attacking at, but a central component
Yeah.
to an attack. To trying to shore up a side or the middle, wherever it is. So there would be units around there for him to support.
Yeah.
This means now they can do their own thing if they wish. All right. What else changed?
That was a good change. That was a good change.
Yes.
Sometimes nerfs are also good changes. All right, let's see what else. That's about it until we skip to
The Mechanist
the Mechanist. Yeah,
is...
the Mechanist changed to Priest 5, which I think increased, he says, with a question mark, as I look today with the older copy.
No, what's weird is for the older copy, it still lists him as Priest 5.
What?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it like, is there no space in between? Or did they add maybe they added a parentheses?
They put parentheses here, but I have it listed that I used Priest 5 before.
Huh.
And like I said, I know I haven't updated this stuff, so I don't know exactly what happened there, but that's all right.
All right. Next would be the pole mark, which I believe, basically, let's read both. So it's Battlefield Tactics. At the beginning of this character stand's activation, select one of the following battlefield tactics. Until the end of the round, the regiment this character stands in gains those effects. The regiment may only be affected by a single battlefield tactic or battlefield order. Should a regiment receive a battlefield tactic or battlefield order whilst, I always love that word, whilst already under the effect of another, the current one ceases and is replaced.
So that whole bottom part there is the addition. The fact that you may only have one tactic on your unit, and if you do a new tactic, the previous one is removed. There wasn't a limit before.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be kind of... Well, looking at these, probably needed. So, Fight in the Shade. So, nothing changed there.
No, it's the names.
Yep, and Come and Get It. They added until the end of the round.
Yes. So before they used...
said, but...
Yeah, before they were Order 1 and Order 2. So they gave them a name.
Yeah. But also, Jesus Christ, could you imagine stacking the two of these?
And telling them it's until the end of the round. That's what it should be. It absolutely should have been that. I'm sure most people interpret it that way.
Oh Lord, I didn't even put two and two together. Yeah, but it doesn't say until the end of the round.
No, it's more of for consistency's sake to me in my mind with that. Don't get me wrong, you can make arguments one way or the other in the previous wording, but it's supposed to have been till the end of the round as I read it. So yeah, this just clarifies that that's true.
Yeah,
the Mechanist, that bothers me. It's
okay. Are there parentheses in the old one?
That's not how they do. I have the app. I'm looking at the app. So the app didn't do it quite that way.
Maybe they didn't put parentheses by accident.
Yeah, it could have just been the old file actually was written wrong, but he doesn't look any different for what we see here, which is good.
Okay.
All right. Aristarch has a similar change to his battlefield orders. So his new one, actually, if you want to read it, because I'm looking at the old one.
Oh, absolutely. No, I got you.
Yeah.
And that's what you want to... So, at the beginning of this character... is it going to be the same
thing? Yep. The extra edition is the same thing. It's that you can only be affected by one.
Arms of Steel and Hearts of Iron are both red. So, I'm going to read both and see if those changed.
Yeah.
Arms of Steel, the regiment the character stand is currently attached to gains the Untouchable special rule.
Yeah, that's one of them. That was the second one.
Good.
They weren't numbered or anything before or named. They were just dots.
So the regiment the character stand are currently attached to gains the Bravery special rule.
Yeah.
So are either of those different, or is it just because they renamed it?
They're the same. They just gave them actual names. Before they did not have names. That's good that they have names, because now you actually have a way to mark and know what you've given them. All right. So far liking everything that we've seen there.
Again, they're nerfs, which is, again...
Some of them are.
Yeah.
So far, actually, everything really has been. The one spot was a clarification, but everything else so far really actually has been a bit of a nerf.
All right. I think we skipped down to the, inscription, which seemed to have... so inscription of lighter alloys changed, so the points changed. So it was something else. Now it's 35 points.
And this is...
Probably, what do you guys, it was 30.
I gotta find inscription. Do you know what it was under? Relics?
Yeah, it's a bestowed relic.
Okay. So this used to be 30. Yep, so it's 5 points more.
Okay. So yeah, until the end of the round, the infantry regiment the character stand is currently attached to removes -1 from the defense characteristic to a minimum of 1. It loses the phalanx and shield special rule and adds +3 to its march characteristic until the end of the round. The regiment that had the phalanx special rule and lost the result of the draw event may still not enter a garrison piece of terrain.
So that is the addition that they've clarified, that if this causes you to lose phalanx, remember, normally if you have phalanx, you cannot garrison terrain. You're not allowed to use this, remove your phalanx, go into the terrain feature, And then in future turns, you could technically have phalanx on, because remember, draw events are optional. You don't have to take them. So they want to prevent a phalanx unit from finding a cheap way to get into a garrison.
Into it, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, they won't let you get in there.
Oh, again, good clarification. I gotta say, so what? There's just one army so far.
Yes.
Okay. They read the rules pretty damn good. GW, take notes.
Yeah, and they're looking for exploits. To me, that is a bit of an exploit, because having phalanx can be very useful in terms of defense. So garrisoning terrain is something they don't want you to be able to do that. So they just stop you from doing it. I fully agree with that. I think that's really good.
Yeah.
So let's take a look. Their masteries. One of their masteries, the expert scouts, changed.
Yeah, I'm scrolling down. Did I skip it? I did skip it. I'm an idiot. So expert scouts, points are still 50, but this mastery is active for the duration of the battle, regardless of whether the character stand is on the battlefield or been destroyed. Friendly infantry regiments without the phalanx special rule marching onto the battlefield from reinforcement gain the vanguard special rule until the end of the round.
So the extra bit is the fact that the mastery is active for the battle, which was the same as before, whether or not the stand is on the battlefield.
Okay.
Before, by wording, you'd have to have been on the battlefield first, which can remove the whole point of vanguard.
Exactly.
So that actually gives that use, which is great. Because otherwise, it was unfortunately kind of... But right now, it wasn't bad because all your stuff was medium. You didn't have anything light, but now as you start getting lights, they would have no shot at doing any of this.
Yeah, exactly.
So, next changes that we have here, these ones I can talk about.
Oh, yeah, the one that I thought. Yeah, the one that I...
Yeah.
So Trident Strike inflict 1 hit per success on a target enemy regiment. I think that was used to be 2.
It used to be 2, but it was attunement 2. It's now attunement 4. So you get less per each, but you're doing it twice as often because you're getting it on 4s instead of just 2s.
Yeah.
As someone who runs cares, who we'll get to them shortly, one of their spells got better, but as someone who runs cares, when you need 2 successes and things like that on 2s because you're looking at spells, that makes this really rough. Keep in mind, this guy was a priest too. So your chance of actually getting things to go off well was really, really low. Now he's got
side
more.
Point. He would get. I think on melee is when he's able to do stuff like this. I'll scroll down to him a little bit.
Yeah.
When we look at the units, but I think it's like when he hits someone, he could do a spell.
Yeah, and he might be a higher priest now.
Sequence.
He was always priest 2. Priest 2 on 2s is near impossible.
And that was his big thing. But okay. And then this thing, which I thought was a spell, still good though. No. Still good. Crucible's
Range
Fire.
Self.
Range Self. It's on it. Yeah. Attunement for this regiment gains the Aura of Death 7 special rule until the end of the round.
Yeah. Used to be Attunement 2, and it used to be Aura of Death 5. So it's 2 better, which makes sense. Aura of Death, for anyone who's not current, Aura of Death no longer does morale. So Aura of Death across the game went up. If you have Aura of Death or if you have an Aura of Death ability, it pretty much went up everywhere. All right. I like both of those changes.
Yeah.
If you need to cast spells, I want a shot at getting those spells off. This gives him the shot, especially for the self one. Like that's big, and you weren't getting that before. All right, we are taking a look at so their Delartes changed.
Go up to 25.
Yep. What was he before? I think he was 20. I'm not actually in the. I had to prepare for war to be able to look at it. Oh, it was 20.
I'm gonna say 20. I think it was 20.
Okay.
I don't know, but I'm going to call it. I guess.
Yeah, it's just
I was excited. I updated my app immediately.
No, yeah, he was 15. He went up by 10.
Oh,
yeah,
Jesus.
All their Delartes actually were much, much cheaper. So do you want to tell people what Delartes do?
Yeah. I got to scroll down for that one.
They give you Flurry.
Oh.
Yeah, I would say. If you didn't know, I could tell you. Delartes gives the regiment Flurry. Flurry means you get to re-roll your hits in close combat. That's why they went up by 10 points on all Delartes.
Yeah,
because that's a huge
100%. Rule. Yeah, that's massive. On such a defensive unit, too, that's massive. Yeah, no. All right. I think there's support 2, too. Yeah, there's support 2. Jesus.
Yeah. They went up in points as well. Sorry, down in points. Phalangites went down 5 points.
Yes.
They
Pike formation did change though.
yeah, and they did
Enemy
gain an
or
attack.
maybe.
They were
Oh
attack
yeah,
3.
oh my god, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah. Yeah, they actually
Jesus,
got an extra attack.
it's so small. All right. Still only Clash 2, so it's meh. Enemy regiments suffer -3 to their impact. Scroll to a minimum of 0 when in contact with this regiment's front arc. In addition, enemy regiments that have performance will charge against the regiment front arc do not benefit from inspired and shocked rules
So
until the end of the
so
turn.
that's the added part. You always
Okay.
lost 3 impacts if you hit them in the front, but now you don't get inspired or shock.
Ooh.
And shock
Ooh.
now, so for anyone who doesn't know, the rule of shock has changed. Shock used to be essentially you get to count as inspired again. That's not the case anymore. Shock gives you +1 to your clash. The reason that is important, if you're impacting someone, inspire does not go off until after impact hits because you inspire afterwards. Shock does go off because shock is a flat increase to your clash. So you will get that actually when you do impacts.
Yikes.
Yeah. So I mean, they made them a little bit cheaper, gave them an extra attack. They actually made them a little bit stronger if you have units that want to use these rules. But they up the cost of the Delirites so they can swing more, but they're not hitting nearly as good. And remember, if you're using Phalanx at the time, you can always choose to... their special rule, it's not a draw, so they have it. Phalanx means they are never inspired themselves.
Yeah.
We've already taught there's ways for them to remove it with different banners and things like that. But base, they're never inspired. So they're very defensive, but they don't hit amazingly strong.
This one took me for a shock. The next one, we're to a Sacred Band. Because it looked like the whole damn thing changed.
Yeah, for Sacred Band, yeah, they've had a lot of changes. So, give me 1 second. Let me get to them. And we can talk about exactly what is different. Now, this is a unit that's not currently out.
No.
So
what are they? I'm trying to figure out, I guess they're just, they're infantry regiment. So they're like priests.
I would say it's priests,
okay.
by the look of it, yeah.
Okay.
No, according to this, I don't see any difference in their... Oh, they highlighted the things wrong. They used to be 180 points. They're 200 now. But their stats are the same. That's a different thing. That should not be what's read.
God damn it.
I hope there's... I'm going to laugh when it finds out we missed something else that changed just because they didn't highlight in red. But no, their stats are actually the same. I'm not seeing a difference in their stats. Yeah,
okay.
It's that they're more expensive. Someone highlighted the wrong spot. That's all. That's not big a difference. That's not too big of a problem.
Okay. I feel like we're going to miss something.
It's okay if we miss something. This is a bit of a primer. It discusses some differences. It gives people an idea of how they've changed these armies, which is important. Next change is the Promethean.
Promethean, now it's as if it were a character.
Yes.
Which
you needed to do.
Yes.
You can't cast spells unless you act like a character or are a character. So that's just a pure normal way to talk about that.
Exactly. It was needed to actually work the damn model. And I believe the Hephaestion also changed. Hephaestion is also now heavy.
So, let me take a look.
Was it not a heavy before?
He shouldn't have been then. No, he was heavy.
Okay, so they just highlighted the...
Oh, you know what?
Heavy.
That could have been in the document originally. Like the previous document maybe didn't say heavy. In the app, he was heavy. He was meant to be heavy. They're just clarifying that he's heavy. Oh, and I forgot for the no, so we're talking about the Hephaestion. Does the Hephaestion require the 4 successes? Yeah, they have to get additional successes.
Yep.
Yeah. So how do they get more dice?
It's when they... I think it's when they attack. Give me a second. Free additional... Spells cast require a maximum of 4 successes rather than the usual 2. Wait, there is something that gives them extra successes, and now I can't remember what the hell it is.
Yeah.
Wait, is it not? It was basically if they hit you. Wait. What?
Oh yeah.
There was.
It's Herald of the Forge God. Oh, did they wait? That's where it actually has it. Finally, this regiment adds +X dice to any spell casting action it performs during where X is the number of successful hits caused by an enemy cost to an enemy regiment during its activation.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, it's the last line. You just didn't read the last line. It's literally right there.
I was right.
It's the final paragraph.
Yeah, adds plus X is where X is the number of kits. Yeah, okay, I was
Yes.
right. All right.
Okay. Yeah, it was there. You weren't saying it, but yeah, it was absolutely there.
I was gonna go insane. I was like, wait, I know it's there. Okay. Command models. Well, it seems like the command models changed too. Maybe, I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah, some of it is going to end up just being pure clarification.
Yeah,
Because
let's see.
what you'll notice is if they change the way they wrote it, not necessarily even an overall change, but they change the way they wrote it, they will absolutely just do the same thing.
So yeah, adds +2 to attack, including the auxiliary current against the flurry special rule. Okay.
There it is. So +2 to the attack.
+2 to the attack is the difference.
No, that's the same.
Oh.
If they activate from the strategic stack, they get it until the end of the round. Oh, they added in the fact that includes the auxiliaries and any currently attached characters. That was not specifically said before.
Got it.
Same thing with the Delartis. The Delartis now clarifies that, yes, anything else in there gets the flurry as well. It's not just... It's the whole set of stands as a regiment.
Okay.
Yeah. So they added to that just to help clarify that. That's not too different. Falagos. What is different about him? So what does he do now?
He may use the resolve characteristic if friendly character stands within 18 inches as he was attached to this regiment. Furthermore, if this army warlord's character stand activates its battlefield orders or battlefield tactics while within 18 inches of this command stand, then the regiment of this officer attached also receives the same effect.
So all they did is they removed the other wording. So actually, this is something we didn't mention before, and let's talk about maybe the seer real fast first, and then I want to go back to mention this because this is something that was missed. Do you know who takes a seer? The other problem is I have to find who actually takes these things to be able to talk about them.
That is true. I bet you it's the priests. Let me scroll back up.
Yep. Sacred Band takes them. There we go. So now it's the regiment just gets +1 to its resolve and gains Indomitable, and the priest +1. Previously it just said when the officer was present, they got the +1 to resolve and gained the other thing. So they just cleaned it up in that you just get that. You don't have to say when he's present because you know he's there because you have him in the army.
Okay.
So here's the thing that we missed. We talked about it, but I want to make this clarification very, very importantly. So I'm going to scroll up. So for anyone following along, they can see this here. Where do I want to be? All right. So we talked about how the pole mark and... Oh, sorry. My apologies if you're watching. And the air starch, that they have battlefield orders. What you'll notice is that the pole mark's word of battlefield orders is in red. Because it used to not be... it used to be orders as well. Now it's battlefield tactics. So they changed a bit of the wording, because with this wording, we're told that you can only have one tactic active. You can only have one order active. They helped clarify that so that way you can, by these wordings, get one ability from each of them. Where when they added this extra bit, you would have had a problem with that.
Okay.
Yeah, because they were both orders before.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a very important distinction. When they added the limitation, they changed that each of them are not the same. So now you can have one of each. So overall thoughts?
I mean, some nerfs, some clarifications. The fact that battlefield orders don't stack in their end of the round. I ain't going to complain. I'm happy. You're going to see that a lot. That's going to be repeated a lot during this. Even with the Dweghom, my beautiful Dweghom. It's going to be repeated a lot. The nerfs seemed like they were deserved. And I mean, I ain't even mad.
No, the changes feel really useful. The ones that they did nice clarifications. This is a brand new army, and we already saw them in some spots doing very, very well. Part of it is because when something is brand new, people don't know how to fight against it. But the other part is when you're brand new, the question of how balanced are you can come into play, because it's tough to do. Everything that they changed here feels like a very good change. Nothing too drastic. There was some clarification, some where they cleaned it up and it works the way that you would like to think it does. Other spots they did make sure they purposely played something down. But they did a light touch, and they did a light touch across all the armies, which I prefer. Do a light touch, and then if it's still a problem, reach out and do something more again. The last thing you'd want is people get hit with the hammer, and then it makes it really rough on people.
The hammer.
Yep. All right, so... there we go. So we're going to go to Old Dominion next. We're going to skip around a little bit here. So we're going to talk about some differences that they did here for Old Dominion overall. This is, of course, the undead faction. These were the original humans that worshipped their form of a god too much, and then they decided to try and get rid of him. And kind of somewhat did. He sort of merged with death, and it got bad from there. This is, unlike in most games, where your undead faction is your horde. This is an elite army. This is an army. The general rule is that as units are destroyed, or as stands are destroyed, you get memories of old, you get tokens, and as those tokens go up enough, you start getting special abilities. So that's more of what this is. They're remembering their past glories and abilities and all. So let's take a look and talk about some of the differences. Now all right, so I'm cutting in here with what we had before because there was a bit of an edit that Parabellum Games did to this. So these documents were originally released on the 23rd of May, but the 23rd. I grabbed my documents that day, and then apparently on the 24th, they actually updated some a little bit additional. So I have my document from the 24th, and here's the one from the 23rd. You'll notice that the part about the blasphemous soma is not there. So that was a bit of a change. There's a little bit of extra change here as well. So for this part, I'm going to go through what the differences were here, and then we'll go back to the normal recording, because for the rest of it, everything else was the same, but it was on the Army Pages rule that did change. So when we talk about Old Dominion here, as we know, they have these animate vessels, and that causes these empowerments. The empowerment tiers have changed. So if you looked at the 23rd, they were the same, but now those tiers all cost one more to get. So if we take a look to what it was previously, it was 0 to 7, i.e. needing to get to 8 to get to tier 2. Tier 1, you don't have anything special, but tier 2 is where you start getting something special. But we see now it actually takes to the 9th token. So if you played Old Dominion before, everything is just one higher to get to. For other rules-wise, if we look at the Dark Power pool, they clarified, to me this is purely a clarification, but they clarified that at tier 3, when you get the count as inspired at all times, it's at all times unless you're broken. As we know, being broken means that you get no benefit from being inspired. So you can technically count as it, but you don't actually get anything from it. So they did clarify that. The other piece that they clarified is for the Fallen Pantheon. So this is for the Fallen Divinities empowerment tool. It says, in addition, whilst a friendly regiment with the enemy vessel special rules within 10. So the old rule says when a friendly regiment is within 10, so on. They added that should be animate vessel. That makes sense. Now before, it's not that it didn't work otherwise, but it didn't necessarily make a lot of sense to work otherwise, because the whole idea is that it's coming from, this power is coming from the destruction of these undead warriors, for lack of a better phrasing there. So the bonuses, and therefore problems, only relate to these guys. The other key feature, and this is something that helped us realize what we had missed, is the Blasphemous Soma. So in the past, Blasphemous Soma, it was a 40-point upgrade that one of your casters could take. So Hybrid Deacon or your Archimandrite. And what it meant is while they were on the board, essentially, as it says here, in the Supremacy phase, you gain a Dark Power point. What it does now, so now it is free. It's essentially an army rule. While the Warlord is on the battlefield, each round before the Supremacy phase begins, add 1 power token to the empowerment pool of your choice. This to me is almost a side grade. I haven't decided if I truly think it's better or not. It is better in the fact that, 1, it's free. To me, if you were taking a caster, which I always did, and I could see maybe that you don't, but if you took a caster, this was almost a 40-point add-on automatically. because that extra bit really does help you out a lot. So you save 40 points. You now don't have to have a caster to do this. If you want to run different lists, it gives you a lot more freedom of that. The downside is that it has to be your warlord, and it's while they're on the battlefield. That does mean if your warlord is removed, and the supremacies we'll see in a moment, the ones that used to have problems now work all the time, that if your warlord is either not there because they haven't arrived yet or been removed, you don't get it. So it could be a little bit harder to get. And your warlords, depending on what you run with, I find that the Zilliarch or honestly, his warlord ability is very good. I find that I've been using the Strategos a lot more because I think the Strategos' extra, essentially, movement that you get is really, really big. But he tends to be in a medium or heavy unit, so therefore it's getting delayed before this comes on. That was sort of the same thing before, but now you're much more concerned of when your warlord shows up. I've had games in the past where I want my wizard early because I both want the plasma soma, but I also want to start casting out some spells and everything like that. And sometimes I want my warlord a little bit later. And I want him a little bit later because I want the enemy to get in a better position. I want to have my units further up the board, so when I reinforce, I'm in a better spot myself. This kind of wants to force my hand of getting my warlord out as soon as possible. And that does change a little bit of the build strategy you may have if you haven't designed your warlord to really want to get in there and fight, maybe. So those are the differences here. Everything else that comes up is the same. One thing we do miss, Snafong, the weapon, is now 5 more points. It's 30 instead of 25. That was a change. And I do believe we missed that the Moroi, their R of Death is actually 3 now instead of 2, because R of Death went up across the board. So now we'll get back to the normal recording and everything else will be as we saw. And we will mention later these sort of stealth edits, but for what we talked about here, it's the only one that it affects.
I started painting the Dweghom yesterday. I paused because I got my other demons in today and I wanted to build them. Yeah. But as Dave saw the picture, they are
bendy.
I might not even use the axes. I might clip the axe heads and use my plastic axes from the Myrmidons.
I would.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah. I'm doing my Battletech and then probably actually some of my Arena Rex, because I have Bushido stuff coming in like 2 weeks and I want to kind of have some stuff done before that. Yep. I went with the Descendants, something like that. I don't know. They're Tengu. It's a bunch of birds. They're cool. I forget the name of it, but I looked, I was like, hey, you're bird people. Cool. All right. Supremacy abilities. The only change for both the Zilliarch and the Stratego Supremacy abilities are that they're always active, whether or not you're on the battlefield. That was not the case. Now, this is the first part. The first part is that you can reach Empowerment Tier 4. Normally in this army, the only way to get to Tier 4 is to have one of these two characters being the Warlord. Technically 3, because the Strategos could or not be on a horse. But it didn't say that it was always active, which means if you lost your Warlord, did you lose Tier 4? And what they're clarifying is no. If you're Tier 4, you're just Tier 4 at all times, once you get there. Can be tough to get to. I'll absolutely say it is very tough to get to Tier 4. All right, so for other changes, they didn't have too many. There were some points changes. Most of the points changes were increases, other than one spot, which we'll get to. But none of their characters changed whatsoever. Their war gear in no way changed. They did have a change to one spell. Insanity for the Cares used to be attunement level 2. It is now attunement 3. Cares in general, this helps them. We're going to see the other change Cares have. They have a little bit of something else, but I really like this change for Cares because if you run a small unit of Cares, you are not getting Insanity to work because you need 2s and you are base without Empowerment Tiers. Your base 1 die stand. You are having 3, maybe 4 dice. On 2s, it's not going to happen. Now, 1 increase, much more reliable. Drain Will, they clarified that you need 2 to 4 successes. Drain Will used to say 1 to 4. In general, in the system now, you need 2 successes for spells to work. So they just clarified that, yeah, you need to get to the 2. The Moroi spells, they didn't change. Most of the units really didn't. One of the spots is cares. They earned loose formation. So, for anyone who doesn't know what loose formation does, have it here. When a stand performs a volley action against the regiment that has the special rule, it has the X value of the barrage special rule. So in other words, they get half the amount of shots to a minimum of 1. In addition, spells will only inflict half their number of hits. And these rules do not stack with obscuring, so you can't half the half. You also cannot inflict impact hits. That's fine. You weren't really going to be inflicting impact hits anyway with these guys. But what loose formation now lets you do means that if someone is shooting at you in any way, they're having the amounts automatically, which is useful. They're a little more survivable because of that. Not huge. Let's be honest, it's not huge, but a little bit more survivable, and their spell is better. Me personally, I tend to really not use their barrage very much. I tend to, when I get to the right memory of old, I take a unit big enough for it. I memories of old, so that way I can inflict the extra hits, especially as your power tiers go up. Because as your tiers go up, the spell does better. It does more and more and more. I tend just to use that. I will barrage. Maybe now I will. Before I never barraged because you needed the extra dice. But now that I'm hitting on 3s, if I have a unit of 4 or 5 or 6 of them, I feel that I can barrage and use the spell because I feel I'll get a little bit of both. We'll see. I'm going to have to run them to see what I think. But that's an upgrade which I like because I got 6 painted stands. For other changes, Varangian Guard, they went up in points. Varangian Guard used to be 180, I want to say. Let me just check. Yeah, they used to be 180. They're 200 now. That's fine. They're amazing.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah. they essentially can get the cleave 3 with a line breaker. Your opponent's not going to get armor, and they have hardened 1. They are absolutely great. It's absolutely fine that they went up in points cost. Remember, like we said, Aura Death. Actually, I did miss it before. One of the banners, it used to be Aura Death 2. It's now Aura Death 3. My apologies for missing that. But in general, wait, is it 3 or was it 1? It might have been 1 before, and now it's 2. Did I miss that? Was that here? We might not have seen that yet. No, okay, we just haven't seen that yet. I know one of them. Oh, because it's a unit upgrade. That's what it is. Aura of Death, since it no longer does morale, it numbers went up in general. That's true across the board. So Bone Golems, now it's Aura Death 3 instead of Aura Death 2. That's their only change. No change to Canophores, Basophili, Centaurs, none of that change. Cataphracti, their additional stands actually went down 5 points. They got a little bit cheaper. People were expecting, at least the people I talked to, were expecting this unit to get worse. It technically got better. Because it's a little bit cheaper. Cataphracti are good, don't get me wrong. And with the Hyratos, they can do a lot of good. But if they don't get the charge, or if the charge doesn't work, they're kind of just stuck there.
Out of luck. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because they don't naturally cleave or anything like that. They have good impact and brutal impact. And the Hyratos, if I break you on this, or if you're broken during it, I get to do it again. And I can charge twice and all of that. But if that doesn't work, and I've had plenty of games where it doesn't, then you're kind of just stuck in. Because they're not going to really carve through people. They're reasonably defensive, but they're not cutting through people. The Profane Sepulchre, the change here is that it's a maximum of 12 wounds. So the Profane Sepulchre can hurt itself, and then it causes automatic hits to a unit, to an enemy unit, I should say. It's now to a max of 12. There was no maximum before. You could technically take as many wounds as you wanted from this thing. Sorry, was the Profane Reliquary. That used to be Aura Death 1. It now is Aura Death 2, or plus 2, because that's the general rule everything does here. The Princeps, the big thing is it now mentions the fact it includes the character stands. So the regiment and their character stands get inspired.
Okay.
Before you can make an argument of whether or not it did. That was actually all their changes. They had very, very few changes. Very few points. We saw points go up in one spot. We saw a point kind of go down in another spot. We saw clarifications or useful additions that, yeah, you get to tier 4, you get to stay at tier 4 if the guy goes away. Other than that, they really had very few differences. This army, I feel, is a good army, and I feel that they didn't hamper much with their changes, and the rest are good clarifications. Varangian Guard going up in points, I'm absolutely fine with that. Now that they're out, I think the way I kind of see it to an extent, if the units are out, they were a little bit more willing to make alterations. I mean, Centaurs, maybe they are too good, but they're not out yet, so they're not getting played in tournament levels.
Exactly.
So we don't necessarily know. You can proxy anything you want, but for tournaments, which is one spot where you can definitely get balance from, there's not there. But all right, I like everything that they did.
Like I said, that's 2 for 2. And spoiler alert, it's gonna be about to be 3 for 3.
Most people are pretty happy with most of it. I know there's been some. I follow some of the other Discords. There's been some talk in some of the other pieces. We're going to get to those next week because I also want to review what those people said first. But everything they've done so far has actually been really good. And to go over it, there were so few changes. We did this one in half the time.
Yeah.
But that takes us to the Dweghom. Now, I have points pulled up and changes like that. You tell me how many of them you need.
All of them.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I didn't memorize the points. Actually, I did because the one I do remember is the Dragon Slayers because they were a sweet 200 points, so that was always an easy one to remember. So Dweghom,
almost all your points when they went up were 10.
Yes, almost everything went up. I lost about a unit and a half.
Yeah, but I mean, literally all the points changes. I checked it before. I'm pretty sure it's always 10 points for you.
Yeah. That doesn't shock me in the slightest.
Yeah.
So, and again, I'm not angry about that. That's the funny part about this. It was needed. So,
no, it was.
Dweghom, for those who don't know, Dweghom are your essentially dwarves.
Mm-hmm.
They play slow. They're very defensive. They have great spells. They're dwarves. I don't want to be like, oh, they do this. Let's go straight to their points because the change. Because this is actually what excited me. Do you want to go? Well,
I have the creed change first. Why don't we do that? Because
that's what I do. Yeah. That's what I have. So the tempered creed. So originally this I did memorize. This I don't actually need the old.
Good.
So tempered creed was very interesting. Tempered creed was essentially anytime you cast a spell. These were, of course, I don't want to say warlord abilities. Warlord is not the right word. Is it?
It's supremacy. No, it's an army rule. It's one of your creeds, so you select a creed.
Yeah, but this is what you give your warlord. Warlord is what the word I'm looking for.
Yes.
I was thinking 40k, that's why. So essentially what happened was, if you gave this to your sorcerer or warlord, because you can't really give it to anyone else, so either your Ardent Caraway, your Tempered Steel Shaper, or your Fireboy.
Nope, the Ardent Caraway must select the Ardent Creed.
Oh, he has to? Oh,
yes,
what a shame.
that's the same as always. That's in the line.
Oh, okay. So basically then it's only Tempered Steel Shaper and the Tempered Sorcerer.
Yes.
Essentially, anytime you cast a spell, you basically put a elemental power marker next to you, right? And essentially what happened was that at any point you can spend that marker before rolls were made, and there are certain rolls that can be made for, but you can spend a marker to instantly count as basically a defense, clash, morale, within 8 inches of the Tempered Sorcerer. So it was counted as a success, which was powerful. It's a powerful ability. Now, I don't know how some people got up to like 12 or 14 of these goddamn tokens. At most, I maybe had 4 to 5. Some people, I guess, hoarded for the entire game. I tend to be a little bit more spendy. But now it's forced because now the change is that you can only use up to 5 elemental markers in the course of a single action. So, for example, this never happened to me, but story time. I had someone who charged, I believe it was a Tempered Steel Sorcerer on a Drake, right? And this guy had like 12 goddamn things saved up. So probably like turns 7, 8. And I think the really powerful 100 Kingdom Knights charge him. I always forget their name. They got a flowery name that I don't always remember. Anyway, they charged. It's like the 100 Flowers or some nonsense.
It is not the 100 Flowers.
It's something weird. So they charge, this is the dead Drake by all means. And he just spends all 14 tokens and goes, nope. And that's kind of feel bad. I'm not going to lie. That is a feel bad moment. That should never happen in a game. That it shouldn't. So now that it's limited to 5, I 100% agree with. That's really the only change. You still have to you still have to declare it before the roll is made. So you can't look at your roll and be like, well, I failed 6. I thought I was going to fail 3. So you do have to do it before. But I absolutely think this is a change that needed to be done. 100,000%.
Probably Ashen Dawn or Crimson Tower or something like that if you're talking about
I think
horses.
it's something. I know that like someone is like probably like it's this. Right, but
If you're talking about horses, those are the main ones.
Yeah, Crimson Paladins, Crimson Tower, Crimson Tower.
Crimson Tower.
It's
Okay.
Paladins, Crimson something.
Yeah, Crimson Tower. Order of the Crimson Tower, Heavy Cav.
Yeah, there he is. Yeah, he got charged by them. Drake dead authorized. He goes no.
Yeah, Flower.
So now you can only spend 5.
Flower, you might be thinking Gilded Legion, but those are on foot, guys. Because like a Gilded Lily kind of idea.
Okay. I'm probably literally just confusing the two. All right, but yeah, 100% agree with this. Makes for a better game. 1,100%.
All right. The Hold Raw. So his supremacy. How's that different?
Wait.
He gets +2 to attacks.
Oh, sorry, not that. It was not that. That was like the Hold Raw. That's the Ardent Creed. That didn't change. No, we're skipping down to supremacy.
Yes.
All right. +2. I thought he always gave +2. Was it +1 probably?
What?
That I don't know. I never used the Hold Raw. I never used the Hold Raw as a warlord. Well, actually, no. That's a lie. I did use him once, but I can't remember.
It used to be +1.
It used to be +1. All right, +2, and it's to. By the way, it's to all command stands, which is sexy.
Yeah,
that's very nice. All right, so nice little boof there. If you take the whole Raw, which actually does now actually make him. You might want to take him in some lists. Ardent Carway got up to movement 6, which is hilarious. He is now a speedy boy.
Well, I don't see that.
Ardent Carway? He's movement 6 now.
Do I have like an old one open? I see 5.
No, Ardent Carway?
The character on page 9?
5?
Oh.
Page 5? What?
Page 5? What are you talking about? What's the page number at the bottom?
Page number on the bottom is 9. Page 9.
So page 9, where I'm talking about, you
page
see...
6, it's movement 6.
Did they update this since? He's not.
I'm not actually joking. I swear I'm not crazy.
I'm not saying that you are.
Re-download it just in case, because that'll be hilarious.
All right, let me.
I would laugh so hard. They would be like the big, like, oh shit, whoops.
All right.
I would laugh. That would put a smile on my face.
Let me take a look. I grabbed this yesterday, but the thing I just had open.
Did it pop yesterday?
Yeah, it wasn't today.
Oh, I didn't even know it was yet. Whoops.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Yeah.
Is it 6?
Well, I'm getting to it. Give me a second.
Oh.
The file I had. Oh, wow. Okay. They've edited that since the other day.
Uh-oh. Well, the good news is nothing you said was wrong.
Oh, okay. Okay. So everything I was about to say, oh God, was I wrong on any of these other armies? Everything else has been the same.
The Old Dominion stuff, I can't. Well, I was following you with the Old Dominion stuff.
Okay, so if you were following me, you would know if I missed anything. But no, that was
exactly.
That was actually different.
Yes. Okay, good. I thought you told me 5. I'm like, Dave, I swear to God, I don't smell burnt bread.
Okay, so for anyone watching, here's the document. You can see it's in red because we got it in red there. We got it in red there, but now it says 6. They updated it again then.
Does it give you a time when they updated it?
No, they still call it 1.0, version 1.0, but I know it was actually released as of this like a day or two ago. Okay.
That is hilarious. That made me laugh.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, so we're looking at the right thing, and I'll have to check the Old Dominion one. Make sure nothing else changed real fast there. Once
because I don't know Old Dominion, so I was listening to you, but I can't be like, oh well, it was actually this. Oh, that's hilarious. Okay, so Ardent Carway now moves 6, so he's a speedy boy, which is hilarious. I think that matches though. Hold on, give me a second. I
It's got to match some of his units. That's why.
It's the stupid. What the hell?
While
does
you're
he take?
thinking of that, I'm gonna grab the Old Dominion one and check it.
Yeah, hold on. Not the Wardens, not the goddamn Initiates, not the Fireforged. They're stupid berserkers, and I just can't remember their damn names.
Yeah.
Okay,
Actually,
and I must have skipped it because I can't now find. What the hell? What's stupid? Is it? No, it's not Initiates. Is it Fireforged? No, it's not Fireforged. That's the bazookas. Flame Berserkers. Jesus Christ. Yeah, so then Flame Berserkers moved up to 6. That's why. Okay. Well, they're naked. They should move quicker. So yeah, Flame Berserkers are now move 6, which, and so is the Ardent Carway. Awesome. Okay. They move quicker. Tempered Sorcerer stayed exactly the same. Tempered Steel Shaper stayed exactly the same. Hold Raw stayed exactly the same. This one I have to see the old one because I think I know it changed, but I need you to kind of check me on this one. So, one of their relics changed. One of the banners I actually take all the time changed. But I don't think it changed much. So it's Until We Have To. This regiment, this character stand is currently attached to, gains Bastion +1 draw event, while at least half of its stands are in range of an objective zone. Currently, attached character stands do not gain the draw event. And I think that's what they added. Got it. Okay. Good. That was okay. Having a defense 7 hold raw was a bit much.
Yes.
He's still defense 6 with
which is a bit much.
Yeah, it's still a bit much, but he used to be defense 7, which is a bit nuts. Okay. This. Okay. Dave, are you ready for war crimes?
Okay.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah,
this is the nonsense. This is my new nonsense. Chthonic Flame. I have no idea what it did before, and honestly, I don't give a shit. Because enemy stands reroll successful resolve tests when suffering wounds from this character stand. This also applies to spell casting actions. Is this new? Or did they change something here? Because I have never seen
it. It is new.
Good. Okay. So, war crime time. For 190 points, which is expensive, you take a Warlord's tempered Sorcerer that allows him to cast twice, right? You give him Arcane 1, 2, 3. All that does is make him an extra. It gives him a couple. It makes him a Wizard 7. You count 2, or you count 1 fail as a success, and you can reroll 2 failed dice. So he's pumping out successes essentially. Mm. And now you give them Chthonic Flame, so now anytime they're hit with that stupid spell, which they have some really powerful fire spells, you re-roll successful resolve tests. This is a monster.
This is unnecessary. They did not need to do anything like that.
Yeah,
I feel bad against anyone playing
that is
against someone where
absolutely unnecessary. Will I be taking it? Absolutely. But it is absolutely unnecessary. I have no idea why they
think it's too much. Just don't take it. It's that simple.
Yeah, no. I just don't know why they added this. I was thinking maybe they forgot. I think maybe So I think what happened was that many people just used the tempered steel shape or tempered sorcerer on the Drake, right? Mm. And they're like, oh, okay, give him. He tosses 1 spell a turn. I don't think, and I've been browsing the tournaments, right?
Yeah.
Not a lot of people use the sorcerer with a regiment, because I don't think people have kind of gotten around to it. Okay. Right? But in my list that I'm currently I re-edited, I have my sorcerer, the 190 sorcerer, in a 5-man unit of warriors with the Herald of Stone. So they're defense 4, resolve 4. And and they're all medium, so they're sitting on an objective and he's slinging spells.
Yeah.
So
their spellcasters didn't need any help. They really didn't.
Now, stuff did go up in points, so I don't have as much stuff, but this is a relic and a half. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
All right. So that's
part actually to me feels like a mistake. That should
100%. Yeah. Now, if it was 40 points or 50 points, now I'm under, because I think our biggest relic, I believe, is 40, and that gives us Rend 3, Rend 4. Shoot, hold on. Drag Brood. It's Rend 3, Cleave 3. That's our most expensive thing, and the fact this is 10 points cheaper is beyond me. I have no idea why this is. Now, again, I think it's just literally the spellcasting. If this was on a normal Rock, right? Okay, that makes sense. He's swinging a lot. You know what? It's funny. The Nord combat dudes have this, right? Mm. So this I can understand. It's like a melee axe. but why is it applicable to spellcasting? Also, fun side fact, because it applies to the regiment, if you do put this on a tempered sorcerer on a Drake, this will apply to the Drake as well. So you're not spellcasting as much, but now when your Drake melees, and let's say he's inspired and hits on 3s, right? On cleave 2 or whatever, that's going to also make you reroll morale with Terrify 1 or 2. I can't remember what the Drake is. This is
Probably.
I'm not sure about this one. I'm not sure about this one.
No,
this one to me is weird. And that's me again. This is me saying this is again me being like, I love my game, but this is a little overpowered. All right, moving on from the ridiculous. I believe the mastery. Yeah, one of the masteries changed. I don't use the art our way, so this one you're gonna have to help me with.
The biggest difference here is that it gives Bastion 1, but they called out that the character stand doesn't get the draw.
Okay, so it's the same thing. Okay, so a lot of the character stands can't benefit from themselves. Hellbringer Sorcerer went up in points though.
Yep.
I believe it went from 15 to 25.
I don't have it in front of me. Hellbringer
Sorcerer.
It used to be 10.
Went up. Oh Jesus
It
Christ!
went up to 25.
Yeah, this was, and again, needed. You're riding on top of a dragon. You're slinging fireballs. Absolutely 100% needed. Anyone who argues otherwise is
no one's going to argue that.
No, that was on the earlier.
Okay, but people who actually know and look for balance, everyone knows that the Dweghom were strong, above the curve. Absolutely.
I think some people also don't like the fact that they don't like nerfs, but that's beyond. Again, I've played 40k and 30k long enough to be like, if you nerf me and I needed it, understandable.
Yeah, they needed it. They absolutely did.
Exactly. Spells didn't change. Surprising, by the way, that they didn't. I would have thought Flame Wall would have gotten a nerf.
The Tempered Steel Shaper has some changes for it's his spell.
The spell?
Yeah. Tempered Plate.
Oh, you know why I was on one page? That's why I
that page is no, but there's some differences here. Not much, but
let me see here. Tempered Plate, you get hardened +1 to a maximum of 2. I think that used to be defense +1, so now it's just hardened +1. That's a side grade.
That's the temperature. Tempered Plate.
Tempered Plate, I think, was defense +1.
No, hardened +1. They put the max. There was no max before. So if you have it from elsewhere, if you already have hardened 2, you can't use this to get the 3.
And you know what's funny? Imagine if you put this on like Dragon Slayers with hardened 3 already. So
exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's all it was. They were stopping you from getting too high.
Okay, makes sense. Not at all mad about that one either. And then Ardent Carway. In addition, the regiment gains the Inspired special roll until the end of the round. Oh,
yeah.
That's
the addition.
Actually, really nice. Ain't even gonna lie for that one. That one's surprisingly nice. Okay.
Yeah. The old effect used to just remove your broken, essentially. This, you are no longer broken, and you're inspired. No, this is great. That, you know what? That, I don't have an Ardent Carway. God damn it. But that's a good. People didn't take the Ardent Carway because let's be nice, he's kind of useless. But this actually is a reason now to take him. Absolutely, 100%. Okay. Okay. Flame Berserkers, movement 6. They went to Aura of Death 2. Standard Bearer is now 10 points. Which is classic standard bearers. They're usually always 10 now.
They not have a standard bearer before? What the hell?
No, they had a standard bearer. I don't have the cost in front of me, but there's a cost change.
Check something real quick. Just give me 5 seconds. Because they went up to 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ah,
I told you, everyone's Aura of Death went up.
So not that they got rid. Okay, so here's a weird part.
All right,
they got rid of something from Memory of Breath, but I guess it's not in red because they got rid of it. Does that make any sense?
They usually, yeah. If they remove something deleted. Like that,
so the reason I said is Memory of Breath used to be +1 to Aura of Death to a maximum of 2. That no longer is there. It's just now +1 Aura of Death. Meaning, these guys can go to Aura of Death 3.
Yes. They removed it because that's pretty much true across the board that you can get higher. Your standard bearer used to be 20 points.
Spicy. That's a spicy meatball. I like that. And these guys are supposed to do that. They're supposed to be, I think they're lights, right? Yeah. They're supposed to be flung forward haphazardly into the wind. Hitting Aura of Death anyway. So, that's cool. I like that. Hold Ballista didn't change. Good, because they didn't really need it.
Hold
Fire Forge didn't
Warriors.
change.
Oh,
Hold
that
Warriors went up
changed.
10 points.
Yep.
Okay, here's one of the very few times I'm going to say this. I actually disagree with this one. Hold Warriors were already, and I say this nicely, Hold Warriors were, in my opinion, were already somewhat useless. They lost their Tenacious from last edition. They lost a lot of their special rules. They're kind of were cheap, medium chaff units, right? Because even the resolve and defense isn't that high with the shield. So 120 was a good thing. I'm not entirely sure why they went up 10 points. And the only reason I can think of, right, is from the reason I mentioned before, where now my sorcerer can have a regiment of like old warriors protecting them as he's slinging out nuclear fireballs.
So
That's the
to
only
me,
reason?
to me, the reason there's two reasons. One,
Okay.
because a typical unit, if this is sort of units that are mainstay in a lot of pieces. So if your Dragon Slayers, let's say, go up by 10, but you only took one unit before, that's not going to change anything. You need units that actually are taken potentially en masse to change things. So Hold Warriors going up means that your mainstay, your common mainstay option now is actually costing you more. So that's to certain ways almost more meaningful. I think if you want to actually, I saw this in Age of Sigmar. So I play Cruel Boys. They lowered some points. But if you don't lower enough points for me to get a new unit or to do something new, then you haven't done me any good. Here, because you can take a single extra stand in a unit of something, if you don't increase enough points across the board, then you might not have increased any points. Okay. So the option is either several units go up by about 10, or Dragon Slayers have to go up by, say, like 40 to make up the same thing.
Okay. No, you know what? That makes sense then.
Yeah.
You know what? That was a very good explanation. That makes sense. It's not that I was salty before, it's just Warriors were a little bit more useful last edition. And this edition, again, I don't like to call something useless, but essentially what they are.
They are common, like I said, they're common mainstay. So taking essentially your heroes in certain ways are now, if you want to think about it, as more expensive. You're everyone can take them as mainstay. So if you want the special, you're paying more for the basic.
Okay, makes sense. Cool. All right, moving on. Initiates are good. Wardens are good. Dragon Slayers went up points. They went up 10 points.
Magma Forge did too.
Sorry?
Magma Forge did as well.
Magma Forge? Did I skip?
Yeah. Are you not looking at it I'm looking at them as double pages.
Oh, see, I go one down. I go down one page, then down the other.
Oh no! Oh yeah.
I don't read across like that. Oh, that's fine. Okay, so Magma Forge went up. I think 20 points. Were they 180 or 190 before?
They were 190 before. 10
okay,
points.
So 10 points. Again, they don't have a model, so subject to change. The next ones out, by the way, I should say, are the Steel Forged, I believe. I have to scroll down just to check. Yes, Steel Forged are the new models coming out. So Stone Forged and Magma Forged do not have models for them yet. Although 200 points, they should be 200. They're basically Stone Forged, but much deadlier. And for what they do, I mean, Resolve 5, Defense 4. They can go up to Ore of Death 3 if you put someone in there. 5 attacks. They blow up. They're just really good. Mm-hmm. I can't wait to have them because they're pretty cool as well. Stone Forged, they're great. Inferno went up. This is the most. So I'm not salty about this change. They needed to go up. Yeah. I'm salty because it fucked me so bad because out of all the lists I've always tried to build with these guys are now above 10 points, and it's literally from the Inferno Automata.
So
exactly. Yeah. So it's really funny. I was like, I'm not salty. I'm just like, that was a good change. That to me, when I'm like, oh shit, every customization is now 10 to 20 points over. That's a good change to me. Even though it's a minute change, it's a massive change overall. And I like that. I'm not good. Salty is not the right word. I am perplexed. Is that the nicest way to put that?
No, your options are either you hit one thing with a Nerf hammer, or you make changes across the board if you know a faction's too good. They went for that approach, which I think is better, and it'll take some time to see if it's enough.
Exactly. But like I said, very good change. Steel Forge went up to 210. So this is the new unit. No one has used them yet, so now they're up another 10 points. I think they went down in evasion too.
Yes.
Which is good. But I don't know why the fuck. I was going to say they were evasion 2 before. No idea why. They're giant pieces of steel. But now they're evasion 1, defense 5. And 210. 210s again. We'll see if that's a good. They're not out yet, so I haven't used them. We'll see. Because I am going to use these guys because they look cool. Hellburger Drake saw no changes. Ironclad Drake saw no changes. Again, not a model that's out.
Yep, goes
and
to your
then
command models,
I think all they changed was while this officer is present.
Yes, that was an addition.
Yeah,
for
so
all of them.
when it's just don't die. But that's actually big. So I will point out that is actually big. That is a bigger change than you realize. Because remember, one of the Dweghom special rules is that the command stands can challenge.
Yes.
Right? And if you have a sir, what's funny is like they can challenge, but you could just say no and you're not broken. The sir, now you only can take one, basically says if you ignore a challenge from just the command stand, not the character, you're broken. So you treat it like you're broken. This is actually big because now, before it was like, oh, I'm going to challenge with my stupid exemplar. He dies. It's okay. I still got my resolve. No, now it's only when the officer's present. Exactly.
Yeah. That's a worthwhile change because if you're going to let these guys challenge and do stuff, then there should be a downside if you do that.
Exactly. Because before there was literally no downside, and it was, needless to say, it was pretty big. It was pretty big. Let's see. And I think, one more thing.
Overcharge.
This is a big change. Overcharge. Much to Ray's delight. Ray, if you're listening, he's smiling ear to ear right now. Overcharge was a special action or draw event that the Drake had. It was a draw event if you had a sorcerer on it. It was an action if you didn't. And essentially what Overcharge did was every time you either did the action or you just drew the card, you would get an overcharge marker, would give you +2 shots and +1 armor piercing, right? Now you cannot increase the regiment's armor piercing to a value of 2. So now, like for example, but let's say it's turn
exceed 2.
Exceed 2, exactly.
Yes.
So now I can't. I could store it for 5 turns if I wanted, but I'm not going to be at -6 rend, a -6 armor pierce.
Yeah.
It'll only be 2. I'll still get a bunch of shots. That didn't change, but now I'm not going to be. The reason I bring this up is because I think it was Ray charged my Dragon Slayers, didn't kill them, and my Drake, who had arc to him, who saved up, I think, for 6 turns. I didn't use a single overcharge, 6 turns. Used all of them, and it went to, what's his start armor pierce value? I think they start at 1.
Probably 1.
Yeah, they started armor pierce 1, and so I used all 6, and it became armor pierce 7 with 12 plus 10, 22 shots, and there was a crater. It was fun. But no, and also character stands currently attached do not gain the benefit. Yeah, and that was another thing. Your sorcerer cannot benefit from it.
Yeah, they're not tokens for him.
I'll put it this way: I never played it that way.
No.
Because some people did. I disagreed with them. I didn't feel like it was I know it per rules you could and you should. That to me felt weird. So that's why I didn't do it. And I'm just glad it now got clarified and I'm corrected. I don't have to change my playstyle.
Yeah. So overall, I think other than adding that was weapon or whatever it was, other than that, I like all their changes because Dweghom needed a little a hit. And I think they got them in appropriate spots.
100,000% agree. This is not, again, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh no, they nerfed my army, meh, right? This is, like I said, I'm always for the good state of the game, 1, right? That's step 1. And 2, these are not like, they're nerfs, don't get me wrong. But again, this is not like when you hear nerfs, and again, I don't want to like call out GW because but sometimes when GW nerfs, they nerf. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That banhammer swings hard. And here, they nerfed, but it was more like, hey, listen, this was slightly overpowered. We tuned it, except for that 1 axe. That 1 axe came out of nowhere. I don't know where the hell that axe came from. No idea where that axe came from. But here, I'm sitting here like, these are appropriate. I enjoy these. These are good changes. None of these are bad. And hey, you know what? That's okay in my book.
Yeah. All right. So, brief pause for a second. And they did do some other changes to Old Dominion. I'm going to
Oh,
check
they
those. I'm
did.
going to
Ha
check those, and
ha.
then I'm going to roll it in. So give me 1 second to scroll through and find them.
And now I'm actually curious because I missed it as well, but I'm
Yeah, I
actually
want to
somewhat
see what's
curious.
different, and then I will put this part in earlier. Is what I'll do.
I am actually legitimately
I
curious.
don't think much changed, but I see at least one thing, so I'll have to roll this in. Yeah, they did like a little stealth edit because I downloaded these day of, and
I'm
day
wondering
of they weren't this. Uh
in Terrasante.
ooh, yeah, they made the. Okay, so those are differences. Let me check what else. Ba, ba, ba. That's all the same. Let's see if anything else is different. Because if so, I can redo the first part. Those only thing. They've done a few small changes.
Oh, it's a few. Oh,
Well,
that's
for what I've seen, no, that's the same. I found one other spot. That was all so far. The Moroi getting extra R of death. I don't think I mentioned it, but that's fine. Ringium going up. That's the same. That went down. That's the same. Him. Okay, yeah. It's just a little bit in the beginning, so I'll get to it, look it over, and then we'll say this. Ooh, okay. All right, so there was a little bit of a gap here in going through this. We're going to get back to the other one in a second, and when I make this, I might have to re-edit multiple parts of this. But they put these out, I believe it was the 23rd, and then the 24th they updated a few of these. So the other two that we looked at did not have any additional changes, but the Old Dominion did. So we recorded a few things about them, and now there are some changes. So looking on the first page here about their empowerment. So empowerment is how you get your abilities. Empowerment used to be tier 2 started at 8 tokens. So it was 0 to 7, then when you hit to the 8. The tier now is essentially harder to get to because now it's at 9 tokens. So everything is essentially one further than it used to be for your empowerments. So it's a little bit harder to get your empowerments. Your tier 3 is what it was before. The addition is that if you can't, when you would normally be always as inspired, not when you're broken, because broken says you can be inspired, but you don't get the bonus from inspired. This clarifies that. For the Fallen Divinity, her Fallen Pantheon ability, it clarifies that you have to have Animate Vessel for the bonuses of the +2 attacks. That makes sense because the only way to power up the Fallen Divinity, to power up the Dark Power Pool, is from Animate Vessel units. So they're the only ones with the bonus. The other very, very big change, and this change is something, a list that I was literally just thinking about now, is Blasphemous Soma. So Blasphemous Soma, normally whoever has it at the start of the turn, you get +1 to token into any of your power pools that you want, either of the two. Now it's while the Warlord is on the battlefield. Each round before Supremacy, add 1 power token to the empowerment pool of your choice. The Blasphemous Soma is taken, because it's arcane, it's taken by your wizards. So this now does make a difference that normally it's when your wizard comes on. So say potentially if you take a Hierodeacon. A Hierodeacon can go into a unit of, say, Cultists, which is a light unit, which means your Hierodeacon could be down turn 1. And if your Hierodeacon's down turn 1, then you could start using Blasphemous Soma turn 2. Now that has to be your Warlord on the battlefield. It will slow you down in certain aspects because you have to make sure they're actually there first. looking at this, they just thought we were getting to our higher tiers either too quickly or too much. So they made it a little bit harder in general to get to them. I'm not sure how I feel about the change. I did often get to the high power tiers, but keeping in mind you usually have to have a lot of units disappear in order to do this, and your units really are underpowered until you start to get to some of these in certain ways. Not entirely sure how I feel about it, but I'm willing to try it out and see exactly what I think. The other change that was not in this new updated one was that one of our weapons, the Snuffung, or however you pronounce it, actually went up by 5 points as well. It used to be 25, now it's 30. And now, from here, we'll go through the normal changes. All right, but having said all that, everything here, overall, we like it. We're going to see exactly how it is. We're going to hopefully get some games in soon, hopefully get some games recorded soon. Working on just about finishing everything, a bunch of my stuff up with painting, so hopefully a lot of it's done. And I know we have that tournament on the 10th, and
Yes, we
I'm going to
do.
mess around with the one table and see if I can get our audio stuff working. If I can, we're going to probably record some stuff off that table as well.
Nice. Okay.
Because if we have the actual audio stuff I have, it won't matter if there's people playing nearby. You'll still pick up the main people well. We don't need like a special room for it, so that is the goal. I'm just probably Friday want to go mess around with a few things and then talk to Richard about it. If he's fine with that idea, then I'll be going in next week to make sure I can get everything up and running the way I like.
Sounds
But
good.
that is the plan there. All right, so on behalf of everyone here, we do want to thank you for listening to all of this. Remember, if you're watching this on YouTube, we have it essentially my screen, so you can see what we're looking at. Otherwise, it's why we kind of talk through it more, just in case you're not looking at the time. Next week, we're going to be going through the other 4 factions. We're going to make sure we get the brand new updated list as well for them, to make sure there was no stealth changes from one day to the next. I haven't looked at the Discord in about a day. I wonder, I'm curious now. I'm going to go back there and see if anyone else noticed that, like, hey, wait, there was a change.
Well, so the only reason I knew is because Manny was very excited that the
about the
Ardent
speed?
Caraway now moves 6.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. It just registered in my head that now he's moved 6. That's amazing, right? So when you said 5, I'm like, the hell he is. So that's why I was so like I was like, wait a minute. That's what caught me. Literally, Manny's excitement about the unit is the reason why I was like, okay, this makes now sense.
Yeah.
Thank you, Manny.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. So, thank everyone for listening. So, I won't belabor anymore. On behalf of everyone here at the show, has a good hobby. It's a great gaming.